Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar today. My name is Darcy Carlson and I'm the Professional Development Manager here at Britannica. I'll be your presenter for today's session. Before we begin going through Britannica basics today, I wanted to take you through a couple of housekeeping things for those of you who are attending today's session live. You will find in the upper right-hand corner of your screen your go-to webinar control panel. And with this control panel, you have a couple of different functions that I've highlighted here. You should see an orange button with the white arrow in the center of it, and clicking on that button will either minimize or maximize your control panel. So if you want to move it over so it's just a skinny bar at the side of the screen, you can click on that orange button. And then if you want to move it out to ask or answer questions during the session, you can do that as well. And then the most important piece that I wanted to talk about is your question log. And this is where you can ask questions throughout today's session. Please don't hesitate to do so. You may have noticed that you have, you've automatically been muted, but the only reason for that is because sometimes the background noise of people entering the webinar can get a little distracting. But we encourage you to ask questions throughout the session. And if you can actually try it out really quickly and let me know the number of people you have with you at your location right now. So if you're joining by yourself today, please let me know in the question log. Or if you have a group of coworkers or a group of teachers or librarians watching the webinar today or participating, please let me know in the question log. That we can also see that, make sure everyone can hear me. All right, well, welcome everyone. It looks like everyone's joining by themselves so far who have typed in. So please continue to use that question log throughout today's session. All right, well, I always like to start off, especially in Britannica basic sessions, with the question of, is Britannica just an encyclopedia? Well, it is certainly a wonderful resource of encyclopedia content. We have over 140,000 encyclopedia articles, and that number continues to grow each and every day, and I'm going to be sharing with you today where you can actually see how that number grows on the middle and the high school homepages. But in addition to that, and what we're going to be looking at today, is that it really is much more than just an encyclopedia. In addition to our wonderful encyclopedia content, we also have thousands of images. What this allows you and your students to do is embed them into curriculum, into student projects or research materials. There's lots of different ways that you can use the images with our searches. We'll be looking at that a little bit later on today. We also have downloadable videos. All of our videos are downloadable, and we'll look at how you can do that later on. We do also have a collection of student-friendly websites, and this comes from our editorial team. What they do is go through websites and vet them for you so you can feel safe sending students to these websites and knowing that they're going to find that accurate information. You'll also find journal and magazine articles and primary source documents, two really great features to share additional forms of informational text with students. So if you're looking for students to compare resources perhaps, or maybe even just pull from different content sources, that's a nice way to do that. And then finally, we do have your articles aligned to your state and Common Core resources. So we'll take a look at how that aligns to your South Carolina standards once we jump into the resource itself. All right, so that's what we're going to do right now. I'm actually going to start us off by heading into Discus, and this is your South Carolina's virtual library. So this is the page that you may or may not be familiar with. If you are, you'll notice that you can look through our resources from A to Z, by grade level and by subject, and there's also a really great kids section, all which host Britannica School. So you'll have the different features of Britannica School there. I'm just going to come right over here to my A to Z list because I know exactly where to find that here. And I can come down here and find Britannica resources. Today we're going to be looking at Britannica School, but keep in mind that Discus also has access to Britannica Library, which is for our public libraries, Britannica Academic, which is for our colleges and universities, as well as Moderna and Escolar, which are Spanish reference. I'm going to head into Britannica School, so I can click right here. And because I don't have a Discus login, I'm going to just come right here to our homepage for Britannica School. So this is where you'll be able to find all 3 levels of content. So today we're going to be covering elementary, middle, and high. I can go into each one of the levels by clicking on this banner here or on this these tabs here, but I'm going to come back to that a little bit later on. We'll look at the home pages later in the session. The first thing I'm going to do right off the bat is just do a search directly from this page. So I'm just going to do a search here on the subject of volcanoes. You'll notice that as I begin to search, recommended articles, images, and videos populate for me. If I decide I want to go directly to the volcano article or this image or that video, I can do so right from here just with one click. So that gives me to my information faster. But because I want to do a search right up here and show you the search results, I'm going to click on that search icon. And that is going to take me to my search results page. And this is one of my favorite pages on Britannica School because it really gives you all of the information that we have on this content type. So we've got, this content piece, so volcano. I've got all of my articles displaying here. I can also take a look at all of my images. So I can click right here, and this gives me my image content. Below that, I'll find my video content. So all of those things that I discussed in that original PowerPoint slide, you're going to find here on the left. We also have our dictionary results from Merriam-Webster, magazine and journal articles provided by EBSCO, and these are full text. So again, when you're looking for that additional informational text, a great place to come. We have our web's best sites, along with our primary sources and ebooks. So you'll find those all over here on the left-hand side of the page. I'm going to head back up here to our articles. And before we jump in and look at an article, I want to point out at the very top of the page are article levels. We've searched the middle school level. So right now, level 2 articles are being displayed. We have 3 levels of content, however. And with every search, I can access that content with one click. So here I am in the volcano search in level 2, but if I'm a middle school student, so for example, if I'm a 7th grader and I'm reading below grade level, perhaps my teacher has instructed me to go to level 1, or I know that I need to get to that level 1 content. What I can do is click on level 1, and this takes me to my elementary level results. So here I can find my volcano article from the elementary level. So all that will be my elementary level text. But I'm staying in the middle school environment. So it's really age appropriate for me. I'm a 7th grader. I get to stay in the middle school, but I can access content that is appropriate for my reading level. The same thing would happen if you were a middle schooler and you wanted to gain more information, or maybe my teacher's looking for more rigorous content for me. I can click here and access that high school level content right from the middle school level. And so that works whether you're searching in the elementary, the middle, or the high school level. You always have the availability to go to every single one of the levels. So a really great way to differentiate instruction and learning. I'm going to jump into the middle school level article on volcano at this point and point out that within the article here, I have an additional opportunity to adjust my reading level. So right up here at the top of the page, I have my 3 levels, and I can choose again to look at my elementary level. So I'm just going to click on number 1. And again, I'm staying in that middle school level environment, but I get access to that elementary level content. So I think this is where it's really powerful. Kids can easily differentiate that content, move up a level to look for more information, or down a level to support any needs that they have. Back here at level 2, we also have additional tools to support students' reading and research right up here at the top of the page. You'll see that we have our toolbar. In the elementary level, I'll point this out later, you'll find a toolbox with the same features. And the first feature here is the ability to save or favorite this article to your own personal account on Britannica School. This is a space where both educators and students can save their content and share it out with others. That resource is My Britannica, which we're going to be looking at a little bit later on in the session. But I did want to point out this little star because we'll come back to that, and I want you to notice it throughout the session today. Whenever we're in an image or a video or even a journal or magazine article, you'll always be able to favorite or save that content. The next tool here is the ability to print or email the article. I also have my citation tool, so I can click right here on Cite, and this will allow me to cite my article in MLA, APA, Harvard, or Chicago Manual of Style. So I can choose any of my citation styles here, and then I can copy and paste this right into my Works Cited or however I'm citing my material. So great for students who are just learning how to cite properly. It's also a nice teaching tool. If students are using other online resources and they're not sure exactly how to cite those, they can always come back to Britannica and find our citation and use that as a model. Next to the citation tool, you have the ability to translate the article. So I just clicked on this globe here, and this is where I can translate this into any language. So I'm going to choose Simplified Chinese right down here, and this will translate the entire article for me. And then if I'd like to show the original, I can come right up here. So we've got 80 languages to choose from, or over 80 languages to choose from, right from the drop-down. Next to the translate, we have the function to have the article read aloud to the student. So I can click on this listen icon, and right now the microphone, or excuse me, my computer speakers are coming through my headphones, so you're not be able to hear this at the time, or at this time, but it is reading this out loud, and you can see that it's also highlighting the text as it goes through, so it helps with students' fluency. And then finally, we have the tool to make this text nice and large by clicking on the plus sign, and then I can click on the minus sign to make it smaller again. This is great for those students who maybe need or prefer the larger text, but it's also a really great tool for using this on an interactive whiteboard. So if you are planning on doing any sort of whole group instruction and you wanted to make that text larger so that the kids at the back of the group would be able to view the text, you could use that tool. Up at the left corner of your article, you'll find additional tabs that are going to give you content information, including images and videos. So I'm going to click right here, and this is where I'm going to find my image content and video content. Let's take a look at an example video. I'm going to pull this up here. I can click play and have this play for me live online. I can also make this a larger view by clicking on the full screen in the lower right corner of the video. I'm going to click escape on my keyboard, and that will give me my smaller version. Over on the right side of the page, you'll see that we have those tools, some of the same tools that you find in your article. So I can save or favorite this, so keep that in mind for later on. I can email this. I can cite all of my video and image content, and then I also have the download function for video. So this is really key. It's such a nice tool to be able to download videos. You can then embed them however you'd like. So if you wanted to upload them to your own web page, or if you wanted to embed them into a PowerPoint presentation, you can do that just by simply clicking on download, and that will download that video file for you and save it anywhere you'd like. So you can watch it offline, or again, use it in presentations and projects. And then let's take a look at an image here. I'll just pull one up, and you can see that we've got those same tools over here on the right. And we really encourage you to use these images and videos for any presentations and projects, basically for any educational purpose. Our next tab here is the Related tab, and I really like this tab because it allows for students to take their research a step further. It provides a list of related people, places, and things for their topic of volcano. So those students who are following their own trails of inquiry and following their own trails of research, this is a great place for them to come and find content that's related to their search topic. So maybe they want to find out a little bit more about a specific volcano or a region. So for example, Hawaii volcanoes, I can click here and read about Hawaii volcanoes national parks. And then finally, we have our teacher tab right over here. So this gives me two pieces of information. It's going to give me my Lexile measure, so I'll find that right here. And then below that, I'll find my curriculum standards that are correlated to the article volcano. So I can come right up here and choose to look at my U.S. state standards. So I'm going to do that from here. Next, I'm going to choose my state. So of course, I'm going to choose South Carolina. Below that, I'll be able to choose my subject area. For this particular article, we have language arts and science standards that are correlated. That makes sense since we're looking at a volcano article. So I'm going to choose language arts. And then from here, I can choose the grade levels. And I'm going to choose 7th grade. And then below that, I'll be able to view the results. And so over on the right side, I'll now find all of my standards that are correlated to this article from 7th grade in South Carolina. And so I can copy these and can paste them into a lesson plan, or I can just know that I'm helping to meet these standards with this content or this text. All right, I'm bumping back here to my article tab for one last thing I want to point out, and that is something called the Quick Click Dictionary. And the Quick Click Dictionary was created so that if a student is reading through text and they come across a word that they're unfamiliar with or they don't know, they can simply double click on the word and the definition will pop up for them in a separate window. So for example, if I'm reading through this text and I come across the word magma, and I'm not sure what that word means, I'm just going to double click on the word. And here you're going to see that I have the English definition of the word. I'm also going to find the pronunciation of the word here. So I can click on this volume icon and that will pronounce the word for me. So that will read that out loud. And in addition to that, I'll find my Spanish translation of the word. For this one, it looks like we've got the same word. The translation is the same. So let me show you another example. We'll do here for Espanol. But this is a really great vocabulary building tool. Of course, we've got the word in context, so it's domain-specific vocabulary. We've got the definition and the pronunciation, and then, of course, the Spanish translation if needed. All right, at this time, what I'm going to do is pull up a quick question for all of you. I know that school is in full swing right now. So what kinds of projects are students working on at your school? Or if you happen to be from the public library, what are the students that are looking for when they're coming into the library and asking questions? And go ahead and type that in your question box. That will help me to make sure I show you the things that will hopefully be helpful for you right off the bat. And while you're typing that in, I'm going to pull back to Britannica School. All right, great. It looks like the volcano content is going to be useful already. Wonderful. We've got somebody saying that they're working on information about elections and presidency. Certainly, we've got some really great content for that I'll be able to share with you. Biomes and different research projects, absolutely, we'll be able to share that with you, and hopefully that My Britannica will be really helpful for the research projects. And thanks for sharing the information about biomes as well. All right, so at this point, what I'm going to do is pop back here to Britannica School. I'm going to do that by clicking on the logo in the upper left corner of the screen. And what this does is it takes me right back to where I can choose between each one of my levels. So my elementary, my middle, and my high. I'm going to come down here and start at elementary. We're going to work our way back up to middle and then again to high once we move through the different features here. And this is where you're going to find our elementary level. And this on the elementary level, you're going to find a lot of different tools to help to guide student inquiry and really engage students to kind of cultivate that environment of to promote that self-discovery. So here what you'll find are lots of different tools to engage kids in our content. I mentioned before that we have over 140,000 articles, And so we want our kids to be able to get there and get to that content. And so this is one way that we do that. We just provide them with some interesting, kind of enticing features that are going to engage them. So we have a short video here, a did you know video. This is talking about the male platypus and where he releases poison from his spur in his feet, which is really kind of interesting. So I can click here and answer the question. It's actually telling me this right now in the video that's playing. So it's a comprehension question about the video. I can click here and then I'm going to be able to go into the platypus. How cute is that? The platypus article here. And so that is going to take me directly to the article itself. And I did want to point out the elementary level article. This is what the elementary level looks like. Of course, we're on our elementary level text. We're looking at reading level 1, but I can move up to reading level 2, which would give me my middle school level. But we're looking at this now in the elementary environment. So this looks just a little bit different from our middle school level, but I can make this text nice and large over here. This actually becomes very large. I always like to point that out. But we have the same tools that you found in the toolbar now in the toolbox over here on the right. You'll also find the teacher tab here with the Lexile levels and your curriculum standards correlated to the article, and then the related media down here at the lower left, and related people, places, and things to platypus. All right, back here at the elementary level, we have our what I call the drawer because it opens up and closes. So I can click here to show more, and then I can also click here to show less. And this gives me my Explore Britannica section where I can explore the different content pieces within the drawer. So here I've got some nice browses, including my articles and media. We've also got tools that are unique to the elementary level. So I'm going to point those out to you here on the elementary, and some of the other features like the World Atlas and the biographies we'll jump into once we hit the middle and the high school level. So right here is the animal kingdom, and somebody did mention biomes, so this might be helpful. I'm not sure if they're from an elementary, middle, or high, but this is a really great place for kids to come to explore animals by group as well as by habitat. So I can come right over here and choose by group. I can also explore by habitat. We'll do that in a moment. And then over here on the right-hand side of the page, we have a featured video along with related links. So it talks about what is a biome, so we can go directly into there and learn about the different biomes. But when we're looking at the habitat here, we can take a look at, for example, maybe the wetlands. And I'm going to get a little bit of an explanation about what wetlands are. And then below that, I'm going to find every single one of my articles on an animal that would live in the wetlands that we have here on the elementary level. So I can click here, for example, on the dragonfly, and that takes me right into that article. And I can look at all of the media associated with it as well. Back on the elementary homepage, and I got back here just by clicking on the elementary link in the upper left corner, you're also going to find the Britannica Learning Zone, and this is unique to the elementary level, and you can actually find this directly on your Discus page too. Under the early childhood, you're going to find this wonderful resource. It is for our pre-K through second grade students. So this is what we consider our primary learning environment. And I can choose any one of these zones that we have down here. We've got first the Explore zone, and this is where I'm going to find a map of the world. I can click on any one of these flags that are kind of planted throughout the world here, and I'm going to be able to play a short video about that area of the world. And kind of a cool story behind why this was created. Back when we were doing user testing on our really young students, so our pre-K through second graders, we noticed that they were always interested in going to the World Atlas on the elementary level, but they would click out right away. We noticed that they wouldn't stay on the page because they didn't know how to interact with the map, but they were really curious about it. So our product team wanted to create a space where kids could come in and really explore the world around them with an interactive map. So this is what where this kind of grew from. So if I wanted to see a volcano erupting in Hawaii, I can do that. If I want to see a kangaroo hopping around in Australia, I can do that too. And then you'll see the same videos down here at the bottom. The next section is the play section, and this is where you will find ebooks on different concepts. You'll see those down here at the bottom of the page, so working on different skill sets. For example, right now Newton is reading the book aloud to the students. This is going to be an addition problem, and this is Newton down here. He's kind of our helper throughout the session, or throughout the learning zone. And here's an example for time. And I can flip through the pages by clicking here. They do become interactive, so kids can actually answer the questions. This is a really great resource to use individually, so if you've got centers or if students are working individually on their computers, but it can also work very well on an interactive whiteboard, so if you've got a smartboard or Promethean or even just a projection screen, you can do that for a whole group as well. The last two features here, the first one is read, and this is where students can explore the letters of the alphabet. I can click here on G, for example, and that gives me a word that begins with G. And this is just an opportunity for kids to explore and be kind of an introduction to an encyclopedia or a dictionary. It's giving students exposure to looking up words based on those beginning letters. And then the last section here is the draw section. You can see I've already started a beautiful drawing over here. Let's clear this out, and I'll start again. So I can choose any one of my colors down here at the bottom of the page. We'll choose purple for today, and I can make a drawing here. So it's a great place for kids to be creative, but if they're also working on different concepts, for example, thin and thick, so we can make the line a little bit thicker. I can also make it thinner by doing that. I can come over here, I can erase the materials. I can also trace this little guy, so I can choose up one of my characters down here at the bottom. I can choose green, and I can trace my character if I want to. And then when I'm finished, if I want to see what I've traced without the character, I can click right down here. And I can see my little guy up there. And then if I want to, I can print this out, or I can clear it and start again. So that is the Britannica Learning Zone. I'm going to exit out of this because it does open up a separate window. And that takes me back to my elementary level homepage. Now there's one more feature I want to point out here in the elementary level before we move up to the middle and high school levels to talk about some of these other features. And that is Geography Explorer. And this is a newer feature to Britannica. It is going to introduce students to different continents, oceans and seas, major rivers, and mountain ranges. So I can click here to begin. There's 5 different stages. Our first stage is the continents. And this is Jog down here, and he's asking, and this is audio as well, that's coming through my headphones at this point, but he's asking me to drag the cloud to the continent I think it belongs to. So I'm going to do that. All right, he tells me well done, and I'm going to continue on, and then colors this in. You can even do this with a whole group on the interactive whiteboard, and then students working individually on maybe a colored pencil and paper task. I'm going to get this one wrong. All right, Jog tells me to try again, so I'm going to try again. All right, so the second time I get it wrong, he gives me a little hint. He tells me it's shaped like an ice cream cone. So let's get it wrong one more time. And he tells me, oh dear, let's move on. And he colors in the correct continent for me. And then I can continue to work through and answer the questions, or answer where each continent should be colored in. And after we finish coloring in the continents, we move on to stage 2, which is painting the seas and oceans. So I can take this cloud over here and pull it right into the Atlantic, and you can see how I can start to layer my map. After stage 2 is stage 3, which is our mountain ranges. Then stage 4 is major rivers, and then stage 5 is different points of interest. And what I really like about this is that if kids are interested in a particular continent or ocean, they can actually click right here after they've colored it in, and that will take them directly to that article. So here's our article on Africa. right, we're back here at the Geography Explorer. I'm going to take us into the middle school level now. So I'm doing that by clicking on Britannica School at the upper left. It's going to actually ask me if I want to leave or stay because it's saving my game here. I'm going to leave this. And we're going to come back here to our main page where I can choose my levels, and we'll enter into the middle level. All right, so here's my middle level content. And again, all of the tools that are in each one of our home pages were really built to help students to find our content in different ways. So instead of just giving a search box, we wanted to engage them in our content in different ways. So we do have our Explore Britannica section over here on the left-hand side of the page. We've taken a look at our the features that are unique to the elementary level already. But over here, you're going to find Article and Media Browse, which is available on all 3 levels, along with a way to browse our biography content. Below that, you'll find your World Atlas, and this is one of my favorite features. This is where I'm going to be able to, of course, find a map of the world, and I can begin to search for any country. So if I were studying the country of Italy, and I wanted to go down to that country, I can do that. So you can see it takes me right to the map itself. Before we take a look at the map details, let's also take a look up here at the top. You will find the summary. So here's a summary of the article. I can click here to read more. I'm also going to find the profile. So this gives me that statistical information. So some of that initial information that a lot of times students are looking for right off the bat when they're first starting their research. And then finally are related. So this gives me related people. If I click right here on the Italy link right here, that takes me to all of my related people, places, and things within that article. So that tab within the article. Back at the map itself, let's take a look at some of the tools here. I can zoom in and out just by double clicking or by using my toolbar over here on the left. I'm going to zoom into Rome here. So right now what we're looking at is what we consider the street map. This is powered by Google, so you'll have the most up-to-date maps available. I can also look at my satellite view. So I can click right here. That gives me a satellite image. And I can continue to zoom in. So I'm going to zoom in here on Rome. I can see kind of how a city is structured. I can look at the topography of the region. I can continue to zoom in. And once I get to a place where I'd like to see even more detail, what I can do is take my little guy over here. So you'll see that in the lower right corner, and I can pull him anywhere I see blue. So I said these blue or purple, whatever color you see there on your screen. I can pull this down, and that takes me right into that portion of Rome, so the actual street view. So this is a really great way for kids to explore the world around them, kind of take a virtual field trip. It's a nice way to have students help to make connections to the places that they're studying if they can actually see what that place looks like today. Maybe you're studying ancient Rome, but you want to take them to the Colosseum and show them what it looks like today. This is a great place to, and how it kind of sits just in the middle of Rome with all the more modern buildings built around it. So again, a nice way to share the world with students. Back on the middle school level, again, I clicked right up here on middle to get back to this page. We also have compare country. So if students, for example, are studying Italy and they wanted to compare it to another country, maybe an adjacent country or a country that they have historical wars with, or maybe just even the United States, to see how it compares to the country that they live in. We can do a side-by-side comparison. So I've got the 2 statistical charts for each country. And this is going to give me things like the capital, the language, religion, the monetary unit, the total population and area. That's always a great place to start when you're doing any sort of comparing and contrasting. Also, we have newly added our urban to rural population, the life expectancy at birth for both male and females, as well as the literacy percentage of the population of 15 and over for male and female. So there's lots of different questions that might be developed by students by looking at these comparisons. And then right over here, we have our articles and media. So that gives me my tab that's going to allow me to head right into the articles, the images, or the videos related to these countries. All right, we are back here on the middle school level, and I do want to point out some of the unique features on the middle level. We do have Can You Guess? Again, these are just engaging questions that are going to interest students in gaining access to our content or our articles. So I'll be able to answer these questions within these articles if I click. Below that, I'll find two of our features within Explore Britannica, so compare countries and our biography browse. Below that, you have your Did You Know videos, and these are going to give you just kind of, I think we actually watched one already today in the elementary level on the, I think it was the platypus, but here I'm going to be able to find, they're usually about 30 seconds in length, and they are, what I equate them to is kind of like the bottom of a Snapple cap. It's one of those really interesting kind of random pieces of information, but what's nice about this is sometimes you need that to engage kids and get them interested in a topic. So it gives them one of those kind of funny facts, but then they can click right down here and read about the article, for example, on the cricket. And this is talking about how you can actually, with one type of cricket, measure the temperature outside based on how many chirps he chirps within 15 seconds. So it's kind of a cool video here, but we've got them all in science and social studies, history, so there's lots of great ones here to take a look at. Down here we have our at-a-glances, and these take what we have are kind of our umbrella topics. For example, we have landmarks, the solar system, our world as a living system, and they take all of the content that we have on these topics and put them in one place. And the one that I wanted to show you, just because somebody mentioned that they were learning about elections and the presidency, is right here, the Presidents of the United States at a glance. So these are our at a glance features. And what you'll find here are, especially in the United States article, we've got our list of U.S. presidents. We've also have related articles, all of our election results, so all historical election results, and I can take a look at those. So I can actually click on that and see what the election result looks like from the first election all the way through our last election. And as we continue through this year, you'll see this continue to be added to. And speaking of adding content, I mentioned at the beginning that we've got over 140,000 articles, and that number continues to grow. And down here at the bottom of the page is where you're going to see how that grows. So every single day, our editorial team will add in new content and also revise current content. And so you can see over here, if an article has been revised, it will be listed. And if an article is brand new, it's going to have the new lettering right next to it. So you're going to see that here, and then I can click here to see all, so I can see exactly what they've done yesterday and on Friday. So all of that content is right here. So even on today's date, it is 10:40 here in Chicago, and so we've gotten some work done and pushed those live today. I'm heading back to our homepage for Britannica School because I want to take us into our high school level. So this is our highest level of content. And before we move into some of the features that you'll find here, I do want to point out where you'll find some of those features that we already discovered on the middle school level, right over here. So you're going to find our Explore Britannica here. And then up at the top of the page, we have some unique features to the high school level. The first one is Behind the News. And Behind the News is a brand new feature that really helps students to gain some perspective on news stories. We're certainly not a current event site. We update our content as much as we can, but what we can provide students is that background information, that background knowledge that they might not have before jumping into a news story. So what we do is take a news story and we link them back to content that's going to help to have students gain that background knowledge before diving in. So for example, we're learning that scientists have identified 4 species of giraffes. So maybe I want to learn a little bit more about giraffes or what a species means. I can also come here to On This Day. This gives me an important event that happened on today's date in history. We have in their words, which gives you a rotating quotation. So I can click right here to get another quote. And it gives you famous quotes from throughout time. And it also will link you to the author of that quote right up here. And then finally, we have science and pictures. And this takes you to an image that usually is under the STEM umbrella, so the science, technology, engineering, and math. And then here I'm going to be able to link to our media browse on these topics. So instead of going to the botany article, this actually takes me to my botany media browse. So I can see the different people involved in botany as well as different images. And then that might engage me in asking more questions and diving into my research. Moving along below our fold here, you'll find our recommended U.S. primary source documents on the right. You also have that on the middle school level, and this gives you the primary source documents that are specifically called for in your state standards, and in the middle school and high school level for the U.S. And so I can click right here, for example, on Bill of Rights, and that takes me directly to that text. And the last thing to share with you on the high school level is down here at the bottom of the page, you will find the news from the New York Times. So we do have a daily news feed that you'll receive from the New York Times, so I can click there and access that content directly from our homepage. So a direct link to those current events. All right, we have about 15 minutes left in today's session, and in that time what I want to do is talk about the My Britannica feature that you'll find at the upper right corner of your screen. I talked about this earlier when we were in an article, and I was pointing out the little star that you can save content or favorite content and come back to it later, and this is where that content would live. So My Britannica is a place for students and educators to save content, come back to it later, and also share that content with others. To sign up, you just need to click right down here on the sign up link. So after clicking on My Britannica in the upper right corner, you'll click on sign up. And this is where you can put in a username and a password. So this can be any username and any password that you'd like to create, and not the one that we give to you, one that you get to generate on your own. Retype that password in. You can put your email address in if you're an educator and retype that email address in. There's actually two levels to an account. There's an educator level and there's a student level. Students only need to fill in the first 3 fields. So if students are creating these accounts for research, they can type in their username and their password and then click OK. But as educators, what we'll need to do is type in your email address and then your school code. Your school code for all of South Carolina, we've made it hopefully easy for all of you, is very simple. It is simply Discus 7, so it's lowercase, DISCUS, and then the number 7, and all together. So you might want to write that down. I'm also going to put that in our chat log so that you can come back to it later. And when you put in your school code, that's going to give you access to our educator level content within My Britannica. And I'll show you what that looks like right now. All right, so what I'm going to do is come back up here and go through those stages again. I'm going to click on My Britannica. Instead of clicking on sign up, I'm going to enter in a username and password that I've already created. So I'm going to type this in here. And when I created this account, actually I'm going to do, when I created this account, I created this with a teacher login, so an educator login. So I used a school code when I signed up for this. So now you'll see that My Britannica has expanded. So this is my own personal account. I now have a link for my content and the lesson plan browse. If I were logged in just as a student, I would only see the link here that says My Content and the option to log out. So I wouldn't see that lesson plan browse. So let's first take a look at what both me and my students have access to, which is My Content. And this is where I'm going to find all of the different articles, images, videos, primary source documents, journal and magazine articles, all that great content that I have saved as a favorite. So if I clicked on that star, it's going to open up in here. So you can see I have an image, an article, I've got some videos that I've added in here, a timeline, lots of great stuff. I've got 127 items in my favorites. So I like to think of this kind of like my own online file cabinet. This is where I'm going to throw all of my favorite things. On the left-hand side of the page is where I'm going to find my resource packs. So if I'm thinking of my content as my own online file cabinet, these resource packs are like my own online file folders. This is how I'm going to organize my content. So for example, I have a resource pack on human rights leaders, so I can see those here. I can even scroll through and see if I've got any other ones that I've created. I've got a couple of ones on documents that influence the U.S. Constitution that I can see here. So let's look at this. So this is group number 2, documents that influence the U.S. Constitution. Over here, you're going to see that I have an article, an image, a couple other articles that I've saved here. On the right-hand side of the page, I have the ability to type in notes that I might want to share with my students or with another educator. Or if I'm a student creating these resource packs, I might be just taking notes on the content itself for my own research. So you can use these in a lot of different ways. So let me show you how easy it is to create a resource pack. Over on the left-hand side of the page, I'm going to click on this green button. It tells me to create my resource pack. So I'm going to do this. I believe somebody was researching biomes, so let's do that as an example. I'm going to click Add. So you're going to see that over here. I can fill in these fields. I'm going to skip over this today. There's no need to fill them in. You can if you'd like. And I'm going to do a search on biomes. So once I do my search, I can see that I've got this article on biomes. So I might want to add this. I can click here on this star to add it, or I can go into the article first and see if this is something that I would like to add. So I'm going to click right here to click Favorite, and I'm going to select a resource pack. I've created the biomes resource pack, so I'm going to put it right in here. If I hadn't created that already, I could put it right here and click Create. So maybe I wanted to put biomes, or I can even add this grasslands, or however I want to add that in, I can. All right, let's go back into our images and videos here. So this might be something that I want to add as well. So I'm going to add this and select biomes. I'm going to do my search one more time and add perhaps something else. That looks like a good one. I'm going to click here. I'm going to add 2 biomes. And if I wanted to even have a resource pack for each one of the different biomes that my students are covering, I can do that as well. So then when I come back up here to my content, and I come over here, you're going to see that I now have 3 items in my biomes resource pack. So I'm going to click right here to see those. So I've got my video, I have my image, and then I have my article where my image lives as well. And I can start to add notes. So I might ask my students to watch this video for later. I might say to examine this video or this image and choose a biome to research. And then I might tell my students to read this article as an introduction. Okay, so I've got some notes over here on the right. Up at the top of the page, I have some options. I can rename this pack, so if I wanted to call it something else, I could. I can delete it completely, so if I'm finished with it and I don't want to use it again, I can click Delete. I can email this pack to somebody, and I can click here to share it. So I'm actually going to click here to share the pack. And what happens is Britannica generates my own unique link just for me. So this link is going to be a link that is just going to have my resource pack with my notes and my content in it. So I'm copying that link and clicking Close. So I'm going to open up another tab over here, and I'm just going to paste this link in here to show you what that looks like. All right, so here what I'll find is that I have a video, my image, and my article. Over on the right-hand side of the page, I have my notes. So I have watched this video for later. If a student gets that link, I can click right here and watch the video. It says examine this image and choose a biome to research. Okay, I'm going to examine that image, and I'm going to choose, I'm more interested in the tropical rainforest, so I'm going to choose that. So I can see those instructions. You can also see as if I hover over this, because I'm looking at a shared resource pack, I am not able to make changes to this pack. But if I were a student or maybe even another educator that you're working with as maybe a co-teacher, you can come right over here and click Save Resource Pack. You will be able to save this to your own pack and make those changes and then share that new unique link back with them. So there's lots of ways to collaborate with each other, both with your students and with other educators. So keep that in mind when you're looking at My Britannica. Now I'm going to exit out of the shared resource pack and come back here to my content. There's a couple more things I want to point out to you within your pack. You also have the ability to edit or add content directly from this page. So I can click here, and from here what I can do, and this is going to give me the whole screen where I'm going to be able to select my grade level and all of that good stuff, which I can certainly do. But down here I can add in content that I already have within my content, or I can browse through all of Britannica School over here. One of the most important pieces right down here is the ability to upload your own document. So if I click Upload Your Document, this will allow me to upload a Word document, a PDF. You've got all the different files, sources that you can upload here. So if I wanted to upload a graphic organizer or maybe a writing rubric for my students, I can do that right from here. So let me show you what happens once I've done that. I'm actually going to come here and see. It looks like I have this. So for group 3, for documents that influence the U.S. Constitution, I have a compare sources here. So it looks like I've got a document that I can click here, and I've actually uploaded a graphic organizer for my students to fill out. So you can actually see that right here. And this is another example of how you might use resource packs to help to differentiate instruction. For example, for my high school students, I might have group 2, and group 2 is going to give me my middle school level content, maybe less content, and what I'm asking them to do might be a little bit different. And then group 3, I've got some higher level content, some more primary source documents, and what I'm asking them to do here is a little bit more rigorous or a little bit more difficult. All right, now that I'm back, I'm going to come back to my biomes because that's where we started off. And the other feature that you'll find here is the ability to convert this to a lesson plan. So because I am logged in as an educator, I have this ability. So up until this point, you've seen things that both you and your students have access to. But because I'm logged in as an educator, so when I created my account, I put in that school code, I'm going to see this convert to a lesson plan button along with the My Lesson Plans tab and the Lesson Plans browse. So these all connect to each other. So let me show you how. If I click Convert to a Lesson Plan, what this does is it takes my biomes resource pack, so those 3 pieces of content, and it automatically puts it into my lesson plan builder. And here I have 5 easy steps. I have details, my subject and duration. I can type in my objective and assessment, step-by-step procedures, and lots of different additional information fields that I can place in here. And this creates a lesson plan right here on Britannica School. Now I have 2 options. I can click Save Lesson Plan, and this is going to save this lesson plan to what I call my lesson plan bank, which is going to live right up here in this tab. Or I can click Save and Publish Plan. And what will happen there is it will show up in my lesson plan bank, but it's also going to publish my lesson plan to the lesson plan browse. The lesson plan browse is what I consider our education community here on Britannica School. This is a place where educators can see other teachers' lessons to see exactly what they're doing and how they're using Britannica School to support their subject areas and their standards. So I can come right up here and actually look at that lesson plan browse. So whether I publish my lesson plans or not, I can view these lessons that other educators have created. So for example, if I wanted to look at just my 6th through 8th grade lesson plans in just the area of geography, I can click refresh, and that's going to take me into these lesson plans here. So maybe I want to come to Mount Rushmore, ask and answer, middle school questions. So I can come right here. I'm going to see this lesson plan that this teacher has developed with our lesson plan builder. So we've got our objective, my materials, the content. So for this one, they made it very simple, just the Mount Rushmore article. We've got step-by-step procedures, and this teacher's put in a lot of work here with some scaffolding, additional information, and then we have our standards. So if there's something that I wanted to change, maybe I wanted to code it to the South Carolina standards, I can do that here. I can customize this lesson. And when I click Customize, this will actually allow me to customize my lesson plan. It'll jump me back into the lesson plan builder. All of the great things that this teacher's already put into place are here. However, if I wanted to change it, maybe I'm not going to be as official with this. I'm going to take out the rubric. Maybe I want to change some of the procedures. We're going to step back a little bit. I can do that. I can add in content. I can take things away. And then if I'm finished, I can click Save as Lesson Plan, or I can republish that plan. All right, I am running out of time here, so what I want to do is ask you all one last question before I share a couple more things with you. So if you could please think of something so far that you learned today that you are going to take back and share with your colleagues, if you can put that into your question log. So whether it's a feature or maybe you found a content source that you're excited about using with your students right away or sharing with a colleague, go ahead and type that in. While you're doing that, I want to share with you where you can find some resources to help get the word out about Britannica School. It is so important that you share all of your Discus resources with your students, your teachers, and your parents at home. So we have a webpage, britannicalearn.com/discus, which gives you lots of different tools and features that you can share with your students, teachers, and parents. So please utilize that. And I'll also put that in the chat box. All right, I'm getting some answers back here from our question, so I'm going to go back to our question here. The World Atlas, I love how you can pull down and see the street view. I'm going to use that all the time with my 7th graders. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. I love the Compare Countries features. That's going to be a great starting out point for my social studies students. Great. Wonderful. The My Britannica, the resource packs. Creating content to share with others. Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate it. If you're still typing in, please continue to do so. And keep in touch if you have additional questions after you explore. I saw someone saying that they have so much to explore now. Please feel free to contact me. My name is Darcy Carlson again, and you can reach me at darcy@eb.com. I've also included our professional development department. We share an email address at training@eb.com, so you can always contact us there. Our Britannica support, we are here to make sure that you are getting the most out of your subscription. So if you've got any questions, please feel free to contact us. And then also, please connect with us via social media. We've got our Britannica Learn on all of our platforms, and then I am at Darcy L. Carlson on Twitter. So thanks a lot and have a wonderful rest of your day.